What's going on, guys? So I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2000s. Yes, I want to go a little bit nostalgic, all right? I'm a 90s kid, and I was a 2000s teen. 2000s teen was still around the era of like grunge, garage, punk metal type stuff. And it kind of was, I wouldn't say its peak. I think the 90s was definitely its peak. But the 2000s was still going pretty strong, especially when I was growing up. Metallica was starting to kind of get made fun of a little bit. Disturbed was still amazing. You know, a lot of these popular bands were still popping off. And some of the other ones that would become bigger now were starting to actually grow in popularity at that time. And the stuff that you would see in school was absolutely funny. Now, I was like, you know, a little bit of a mix. I just kind of wore whatever I wanted. Usually it could be a polo, it didn't matter. Or even those Hawaiian shirts. I did it for stupid reasons, but I would wear usually button-ups that were open and a t-shirt and then like sometimes shorts or whatever. I was like skater looking, but I wasn't a good skater. I was engrossed in the culture of skating. I was just terrible at it. And in fact, sometimes you'll see me on stream. I can actually do it here in just a second. It's going to sound gross. I'm going to give you a warning. I messed my jaw up at some point as a teenager. And it wasn't like needing surgery or anything, but it caused everlasting effects. That pop you heard is my jaw popping. And it happens often. It feels stiff. I gotta pop it. And then when I'm eating, sometimes it'll crackle a little bit. It just is what it is. It doesn't cause, you know, like increased pain or anything. It's just, it exists and it's just super annoying sometimes. But yeah, that's why I had to quit skating, was because I elbow dropped a half pipe. Because I put too much momentum forward, and yeah, this isn't WWE. You can't elbow drop a solid half pipe, and my shoulder slammed into my jaw, and that sucked. It's the only way to put it. But to kind of get back on track is what I want to talk about is something that was kind of it popped into memory, and then further unlock more memories. You know, just one of those things where you see one thing and you're like, oh man, yeah, I remember that. Oh god, I remember all this other stuff. You know, it's kind of like remembering your first time watching Pokemon, the first episode. And then realizing, oh wait, they had a Johto Pokemon on there from like Gold and Silver, which was literally Ho-Oh, which we didn't know about at the time what it would be, but you obviously figured out later. But it was literally the same. Now you should be seeing it right now, but yeah, Ho-Oh popping up. That was a pretty influential time in my life, you know, with Pokemon. But something that caught my eye when I was perusing around TikTok, this, that, and the other, I think it was Twitter. I actually ended up seeing this on. And I took a screenshot of it because I don't know if anybody remembers this or if you're too young to know. It's called a audio tape converter, and all it is, you plug it into a cassette player inside of a car, and you use the audio cable, which would be the aux cord now, but the audio cable, and you would plug that into not your phone because that wasn't a big thing at the time. You just couldn't use phones for anything but phone calls and texts. Like back then, it cost money for the internet. I mean, that's what minutes mean. If you ever hear somebody, I got unlimited minutes, it's because we used to get charged by the minute, and text cost so many minutes. I can't remember, or half a minute, something like that. Anyway, it was very convoluted, and I'm glad they got rid of all that. Now we have pretty much unlimited everything. I'm not sure how international works because I've never left my my country. But anyway, yes, and iPods and mobile like MP3 players weren't as big yet. So like the unpopular Zune. Nothing that had an aux cable or, you know, a headphone jack was actually that portable, except for a CD player. Because yes, not a lot of vehicles had CD players back then, especially the 90s models, which I'm going to get to a specific 90s model vehicle, is why this just kept like trickling down to more memories, was you had the aux cable go into a portable CD player, which would be this little setup right here. And you would hope you don't hit something too hard because it would skip the CD a lot. In fact, those portable CD players kind of sucked. Some of them were like anti-skip, and it was garbage and a lie because they would still fucking skip. But what really, really, you know, set my memory into overdrive was remembering being in my uncle's truck. Now, I've said this before. My uncle's basically my age, so he's basically my older brother. And we would ride around in an S10. This S10. Okay, this is not his S10, but it was an S10 like what he had. And when we ride around, he eventually got a CD player, which would be actually like this one, which was those, at the time, expensive CD players. You can get them, like, I think at Walmart now for $50. They're super cheap now. But back then, the plate front CD players were the shit. because then you could stop buying CD players, mini ones, and stuff skipping. You could drive with your truck, and as long as you're not hitting, bumps too hard, it might not skip. It was a lot better. So yeah, that was the big thing. Oh, and I cannot forget, if you had it in your truck, mostly vehicles, whatever, that had the sun visor thing that came down. Yeah, the CD holder sun visor. Or you pulled out the giant CD pack, which usually what my uncle would do was the smart thing. He would pick out a few CDs out of his pack, and he would slide them for the week. So he'd have like 10, 15 CDs up here, which didn't hold a lot of music compared to what you can listen to now. But he would have them all set up for whatever he was listening to that week, which could have been like rock, country, whatever he's feeling, bluegrass, because my uncle has like really old taste in music. And then it kind of sparked another little terrible memory, to be honest. If anybody knows about like now how everybody squats trucks and people are like, oh dude, that's absolute garbage, why would we do that? Yeah, when I see a lot of 30-year-olds talking shit about that, I'm going to assume, and this is a real thing, that some of them probably slammed their truck. If you don't know what slamming is, here's the actual AI-generated definition of slammed, which was popularized in the 2000s. Obviously, that's why I'm talking about it. But I want to talk about here, this is slamming. Now, it took a lot of, customization to it. Some of them were slammed so much they would actually cut a lot of the frame up. But slamming vehicles was stupid to me, okay? They still do this to this day. It's lowered, they cant their tires a little bit, bunch of stuff. But slamming vehicles, this is when it like first started just blowing up in popularity. While lowriders existed long before that, this was where it wasn't lowriders. They used airbags rather than actual like hydraulics. So what would happen, which I think a lot of lowriders had airbags too, but this literally came off the popularization of lowriders. It was just country bumpkin people, just like people did with, squatted vehicles. They would take S10s, which was a tremendous looking little truck. Usually had problems with them, but at least everybody I knew did. But they would slam them, and they would you would see the canisters and all this stuff in the back for everything for the airbags, which was actually hilarious. Oh yeah, real quick, before I edit this and kind of forgotten, this will be inserted somewhere. I forgot to mention about the whole transition from talking about my uncle having the same truck all these other guys had and slammed it. He never slammed his. The only thing he had was like the CD picks, the CD player, the CD plate player eventually, and the audio cassette converter. He had all that at one point or another. But yeah, he never slammed his truck. I just wanted to go ahead and make sure, just in case he watches this video, he understands and I understand, you guys understand. He didn't slam his truck, and I don't feel like he had an earful of like, just in case. When they would drive away, they would actually squat their vehicles too, which it was still a thing back then. So like I said, when you see people talking trash that are probably about my age, in the 30s, maybe early 40s, they probably slammed their trucks and also had them squatted back then. It was a thing, so I never did it, and I thought it was stupid, and I still will say slamming your truck was kind of dumb. Squatting it, I think, is extra dumb, but at least with airbags, you could adjust right back to where you need to be, so that kind of made it kind of okay. Slam trucks, though, I think is less stupid. Maybe I'm just nostalgic, and I'm just coming from a little bit of ignorance of being old and going, yeah, no, that makes sense. We actually had quite a few people that were doing it. I think one did it to a C10. S10 for sure, Sonomas, all sorts of those two-door 90s model trucks and late 80s. A lot of them got done that way. And in fact, there's a guy down the road from me, still slams trucks. Buys them for like extremely expensive prices. Slams them, and I keep forgetting how small those trucks are when you have to cut the frame up and lower it. I think I've said it twice now. I meant the shell, not the frame. There's a huge difference. I mean, it's to the point to where when they cut the framing out, essentially you just get to the headlights and like to the bottom of the actual bed. I don't know how they do everything with their, the axle and everything. I don't know how that works. I assume it's just enough room to fit all that. Basically it's go-kart built underneath. But yeah, guys, I really just, went down a bit of a nostalgic road. I don't know if any of you guys remember the trucks from the 2000s. I guess this is a very long, convoluted way to say the videos about the trucks of the 2000s. But I think the thumbnail should be good enough. I just pretty much wanted to talk about slammed S10s and how goofy I thought they were, and yet still kind of stylish in a way. I don't know. I kind of like hate fucking it a little bit, I guess is the way to put it. But yeah, that's about all I got to say. Y'all have a good one.